the Sanctuary of Light and the Light Institute welcome each and all of you to this time of knowings and invite you to bring forward the questions and the conversations of your hearts so that as we connect together, that those energies are extended out to thousands of other people who hold the same things in their hearts. So, who has something you would like to discuss or look at?
Chris, could you talk about the soul's choice in the bodies that it incarnates, the different characteristics or body traits that we choose on the soul level?
You know, the soul is so unmanifest. It can put together within one body, within one lifetime, 1,000 different attributes. You could change your eye color, you could change your size, you could change all kinds of things. Because remember that through the many incarnations of the soul has a repertoire of what we might call different groups of people from different cultures, from different times, from different places around the world. So the soul will sculpt a body through genetics, through the parents, through the culture, that will support the themes that have been touched through many incarnations of the soul that can come again. And it's fascinating to me because when I did the book Soul Bodies, I actually studied, you know, what does a Mongolian foreleg look like as opposed to a Roman thigh and things like that. It's quite amazing to look at how brilliant the body is to create a form that allows it to express its themes, not only individually, but in massive groups. And so when we look at the short people, the tall people, the fat people, the round faces, the long faces, we can see a purpose. There's a story there. And according to Chinese face reading, and of course my higher self, when I say, oh, someone's in your soul group, it's because there's an alignment of the bodies. The kinds of fingers that they have, the kind of shape of faces that you would have, will match in some ways. And that allows the neurological pulse to be similar. If you want to have a good sexual partner, you want to make sure that those things match, so that the feelings, the emotions, the timing that we have within our own body as it connects to another body coincides. So that the structure of our body tells an incredible story, but it can change throughout a lifetime as we go through the themes that we're working on that have come up in those different lifetimes. And so the most important thing is to recognize that the inside of the body is what's telling the story there. We're holding the memories from many lifetimes, not only in the cellular level of the muscles or the bones or the outward structure, but within the deepest organs, within the deepest whisperings of who am I, why am I this way, what is the purpose of my life, who belongs to me, who do I belong to. And so as we learn to listen to our body will tell us all these things and its purpose. In the same way that all of us have powerful constitutions. You may hate some part of your body, or you may feel that you have a particular ongoing difficulty in your body, but so often we never stopped and asked the body, what is my most perfect constitution that I have inherited? Maybe it is a strong heart, or strong eyes, or powerful, flexible motions. And these elements can help us to be in the right place at the right time with the right people that allow us to perform or to express our true nature. So the body isn't accidental, it's not just something you got from your parents. It is something that aligns to energies that you have called forth, because we choose our parents, we choose our races, we choose all of these things that will facilitate what it is that we are about in any lifetime, that purpose. What else? Yes?
Could you talk a little bit, we were talking on our way up about this area and about the windows of the sky and
Yes.
about the sea being underneath. If you could just speak a little bit about that and what it might mean to be here, just
Yes.
to be here and to do work here.
Well, the first thing I would say, of course, is that nature has spoken directly to me and said, tell the two-leggeds that anywhere you sit and open to nature, we will show you magic, we will show you sacredness. So there's no place on earth that doesn't hold within it energies, life force, cosmic, that can nurture us and support us. But the Galisteo Basin has 6 ancient Pueblo ruins. From the beginning of time, the Native Americans came here to speak to what they called their sky brothers. So through these hogbacks, or these volcanic ridges that we have that define the basin, we have all of the petroglyphs that talk about their experiences and who is here. And of course, all of them talk about their sky brothers. When the Challenger passed over the Earth, it noted that the Galisteo Basin had the least amount of atmospheric pressure of any place on the planet. That means it is a window. It is a window to the cosmos, it is a window to the sky, but it is also double vortex. In other words, you can anchor the sky here. So people come to Galisteo and it helps them to take off the mask. Who was I when I was driving here? What was I concerned about when I was coming here? But rather to stand in this place where people have stood for thousands and thousands and thousands of years in order to experience themselves beyond an individuated body. Now we chose this place that the Light Institute and the Nijoni School is based on. We call it the Giggle Land because it has a vibration. The earth gives up gifts. If you walk on this land, you could find a shard from pottery or an arrowhead, or you could see a UFO, as many, many people have. You could see lights popping around. The energy here invites us to, again, wiggle free of the constriction of whatever your name is right now, whatever the body is that you have right now, and access the part of you that has belonged to many, many groups, to many, many experiences, again, whether they were devic, whether they were angelic, whether they were cosmic. And that's why I chose Galisteo, because I could feel that potential, that opening. We have a wind here, and that wind will blow through you. We don't love the way it feels, but we love what it does because it will lift you and caress you and push you beyond this holding on to whatever the pattern is. Let me be right. Let me find a way to win, but rather to find who you are at any moment. Not who you were yesterday, but who you could become. So we do work called the Windows to the Sky here that allow us to access the higher chakras energies that are linked to our light bodies, so that we can experience for ourselves, not intellectually, but certainly with mind, with higher mind, the potential of all that's around us and how we can harvest that to, again, fulfill our destiny. And people are always wondering about their purpose in life, and they often hold that as if it were something that you would do. No, your purpose in life is to walk the earth. Your purpose in life is to place the wisdom of your soul here so that it radiates out from you. And by passing by the bush, the snake, the people, the basin, you yourself become the vehicle of anchoring the sky, of opening to the sky, of all of those things. I remember I traveled a lot when I was young. And when I first came to Galisteo, after 6 years, I was going off to Latin America. And I went down to the river, and I was sitting there saying goodbye. I was actually waiting for permission. There's an ancient, what we call looks within place, a sacred place on the other side of the river, and I was sort of waiting for permission to go there. And all of a sudden I heard this, and I realized that I was about 15 feet from a mother coyote and her 2 cubs. And it was one of those, oh my heavens, kind of experiences, you know, where you break the barrier of that separates us from other species. And then there was a message to me, and it said, as deep as you can go, so shall we take you. And I knew that I was not done with Galisteo. So I've been here for 40 years, plus lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And I so love that people come from around the world, and they can come here and walk on this place and feel the expansion that it offers us. It allows you to let go of that constriction that closes you into your perception of your physical body, and allows you to be a part of something that has always been here, that always will be here. And I love the fact that there's a sea. I have found grass connections from primordial times here, you know, from the old grasses that were here millions of years ago. I have found it in the riverbed here. And there's a kind of a rocking. So Galisteo is strong, but it's gentle. It's a caressing energy. And I think on this planet right now, we all need that caressing energy. And Galisteo gives that. Sometimes in the summer we do summer camps and we sleep out under the stars, and it's very powerful. You'll see that as you leave tonight, because we have an almost new moon. And so we are kissed by that energy that wants to come into us, that wants to carry us beyond survival and into that energetic vibration of belonging to something so much bigger. So, thank you for allowing me to talk about this beloved and very sacred place.
Can you talk about establishing the boundaries with others?
Oh, you're going to be surprised at my answer to that. Establishing boundaries.
That's why I didn't want to ask.
I'll say it gently. You know, in psychology, as we began to talk about, on the one hand, getting rid of the controlling ego, and on the other hand, emerging, having the self emerge, emerging from the bad parents. We went into psychology for 40 years about the bad parents. And emerge in something higher. We still have these archaic concepts that have to do with, I have boundaries, you cannot cross them, you cannot invade me, you cannot suck from me. And those may be psychological, emotional crutches, but they have nothing to do with the truth of who we are. You do not need boundaries. In fact, you need to extend out the limitation of yourself further and further and further out. And the law of energy is that if you draw in this fantastic cosmic energy in through the top of your head and extend it out through the seat of the emotional body and allow your auric field, your electromagnetic energy to flow out, nothing that you would call an energy that you need to protect yourself from can get in. Only energies equal to you or above, that's the law of energy, can get in. So what we need on this planet is to let go of those concepts of how vulnerable we are, of how victimized we are, of how we must survive, and move into that fantastic streaming. That one of my favorite words, streaming, the cosmic sea is streaming, that allows us to come forward. If you don't want people to take advantage of you, don't take advantage of them. Honor them Allow the world to see you, but hold above all your own truth. It doesn't matter if someone understands you, likes you, recognizes you. It only matters that you recognize you. When you carry that energy, then that's not the energy of a fight. It's not the energy that has to resist, that has to protect yourself. And you won't draw that to you. We draw people to us who we have invited to play roles for us. And we can free ourselves from those patternings so that we're constantly releasing the contracts and vows that we've made in many incarnations of the soul. So boundaries, no, what we want to work on is the expansion of the self, the fearless self. No one can really hurt you. If you looked at all your relationships, if you looked at all your experiences from a spiritual perspective, you would see the truth in that. That every person who's come in, who has harmed you or belittled you, if you could see the lifetimes with them, you would recognize that you have called them in. My higher self gave me the greatest teaching that I could pass, and I pass it again and again. If there's someone who frightens you, who sucks from you, who is negative towards you, you owe them something. You owe them something. And if you have, instead of a defense modality, I've got to protect myself with my boundaries, which are useless. Specifically useless to sexual partners and blood relatives. They're the ones who can take you down in a flash. And that was the idea from the beginning. I promise you, even though you might not be able to see it that way. But, so, the teaching is that if you owe them something, give it to them on a spiritual level. Not trying to make it good by what you say to them, not trying to make them care for you, but what color do you need from me? The cosmic languages of light, of those kinds of frequencies that you give out to them, and it changes the vibration. Only you can break the contracts that are negative. And so I really want to support as much as I can for you to know that you are not vulnerable, that you're not breakable, that you can't be hurt. You know, in healing, when we're learning healing, people always talk about those boundaries in terms of somebody sucking me through the negative energy. So again, look at it from a spiritual perspective and you will see that nobody could possibly suck you unless you need them to, or you've given them permission. So the more that we dig deeply into the self, in our own arena, in our own Akashic records, the more that we automatically are released from those kinds of things. Now, whenever we enter a new arena, maybe you're entering an arena of healing or spiritual teaching or being a good business person out into the world, you will immediately attract the people you have contracts with. That's just one of those cosmic giggles. You're going to get, the first ones you're going to get are always going to be the ones who are circling you closely because you owe them something. And if you can remember that, you can pass through that initiation, you know, undaunted by, again, someone else's problems, someone else's perspectives of reality or of you. So shake loose from boundaries. They stifle our minds, they stifle our hearts, and they certainly stifle our bodies. Thank you for that question. Great. Yes?
Why do we hold memories in our bodies?
Because the body is a physiological experience. It does pulse with time and space only because we've chosen that. We can shift beyond time and space, but we haven't used our minds at that level yet. And so and the interesting thing is that we remember from this lifetime, but we don't remember from other lifetimes, which could support us, which could help us to evolve so much faster. Sometimes often people think, well, I can't remember my childhood. I can't remember my first memory. I can't remember being born. In effect, your brain system your spiritual nadis, the vibration of construction, of purpose, of synergy, remembers from the moment before your conception. So we do have those memories, and they bind themselves biochemically into the cellular level of our body. The way that they do that is through the emotional body, which is why I spent all those years working with the emotional body. Because every time you have a thought form, a conclusion, an experience, a feeling, aha, you're going to create a biochemistry that relates to it. And the emotional body functions through association and conclusion. So the emotional body will go back into a memory, even a terrible memory, and replay it with somebody else in order to continue the process. And that lays down biochemically within the cellular structure of the body. What fascinates me is why we do not use the fact that our genetic encoding is willing to change. For example, your skin changes every 30 days. Well, what are these wrinkles? What are they? They are some interpretation. They are some imprint that we have that says, this marks time, this marks my truth. Whether that's something on the outside level or something on the inside level. And they are influenced because, again, the cells, the receptor cells, which cover the membrane of every cell of the trillions of cells of our bodies, aren't being given any new encoding. That's why we do incarnational work here. Because if you could see yourself as a male, as a female, as someone who lived to be 120, 300 years old, or who was a great teacher, or who was a great fool, then you can shift those memories, and then you can use enlightened consciousness to get rid of them. Now, my higher self says it's important for us to get rid of all memories, so that the pulse of electromagnetic energy, our auric fields, our light bodies, our vibrations, our biochemical reactions can be in this moment like the pebble dropped in the pond, rippling out, so that we create holograms rather than time marks. So we hold memories because we identify through them. It's fascinating to me. I'm going next week to my father's 93rd birthday. How well elder people can remember the minute specifics of what happened to them when they were 10, when they were 20, when they were 30. But they can't remember whether they took their medicine this morning or not. And sometimes they can't remember who you are. I fortunately don't have that problem with my father. But, so memory is a part of what I would say where we place our attention. And you heard me say I am just embarking upon the adventure of this book called Potential Brain. And there's been a lot written and shown about what meditation can do, what Alzheimer's does, what stress does, what parts of the brain. And I'm waiting for my higher self to show me what it is that we need to do to be able to expand and actually use all of the circuits that our brains are capable of to bring us out of identifying ourselves through these tiny memories. What is very sad talking about psychology is that so often through teachers, through therapists, through counselors, through spiritual teachers, we are helped sometimes to remember things that aren't even true. That's the power of association. I can be loved if I'm the victim, so if that happened to you, then that happened to me. And so right now we have, again, as we always do, a score of what will make you the perfect victim to get love, to get attention, to get recognized. And we really need to get rid of those things so that we can say, if I react to something, maybe it's something you read in a book or in a movie, it has to be about you. But how do you want to use that? And as we say at the Light Institute, what is the gift of that? if you had a terrible childhood, or if you had a terrible experience, what have you garnered from it? How can you use that not to repeat that pattern? For example, there was a time when I worked with women who'd been raped, and I found that almost, I would say more than 80% of the time, there were at least 3 generations. If somebody had been raped, there were 3 generations who'd been raped. Wow! How can that be? Could that be only circumstantial? No. No way. That is something that is passed down. That's imprinted. And so, talk about power. We must continually reinvent ourselves. We must dissolve memories, those that don't serve us, and those that crystallize us into, I am the good guy over here, I'm going to get to heaven because. All of them need to go. So that we're constantly nourishing our bodies with a higher octave of food that will facilitate our evolution, the evolution of the soul. So memories serve to help us to remember who we are. We do need our egos, we do need to remember who we are, but we need to expand who we are as well. And so we need more than the memories that we recognize. And we need to sort through and get rid of most of them, because the emotional body associates. We can use a memory as an energy. For example, maybe you have a memory in which you felt no boundaries. You just felt you could fly, you could manifest anything. If you could go back to that moment that you have that memory, you could use how you felt, the energy of it, to create a vibration that radiates out from you and attracts a repetition, not the same, but the next point on that hologram. So that you can have a sense of self that you had when you were 10 or 20 now. And you can superimpose it into your life so that you attract that kind of repetition that serves you, not a repetition that doesn't serve you. So memories facilitate our sense of self, but we have to wield them. Otherwise, they wield us. In the same way that people often have a bad experience, perhaps usually in relationship, and they say, I should have said this, I should have said that, I should have done the other, and they keep going on and on for years and years and years, because the emotional body doesn't have time. So it just replays, and that poisons us. We want to be able to look at each person that we meet, in fact, each person that we see every time we see them, and say, oh, who is this person? How will I relate to them? What will they teach me? People often interview me and say, well, who was your great teacher? Everyone I've ever known. Absolutely. And you never can tell who somebody is by the mask that they wear. What I want to say to all of you is you can choose the mask that you wear. You can choose whether you're the victim, or you can choose whether you are a point of a reference for everyone around you. No one can take that from you. There are no circumstances that can take that from you. So we have to shed ourselves from our sorrow, from our habit of sadness, and come back into that place that allows us to laugh, that allows us that kind of expansion and freedom. What else?
I've been, in the last couple of months, I've been seeing an assimilation of the DNA and the RNA.
Yes.
And it actually forming the full spiral within the essence of each cell and within the structure in the holy temple.
Yes.
And what I'm being shown is that there's more bombardment of cosmic essence coming from the galactic center.
Yes.
And it's speeding up at such a rate that it's actually speeding up our consciousness, our awareness, and when we receive it.
So you want to meditate on your receptor cells. Because physiologically, emotionally, and spiritually, we so often come to a point in our life, and instead of opening up like that, we start saying, I can't take more, I can't. And we stop receiving. And this is the time when we must open to the cosmos and let those energies in that will quicken and activate. It isn't that we haven't had, we have the cosmic strands, we have the galactic DNA. All humans do. But now that could be very useful to us, and we need to quicken to catch it. And so it's a very exciting time. And in fact, I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping that I will get volunteers when my house structures these exercises, because I will need to create patterns that can show us results. You know, what would happen if you were meditating on a cosmic strand or a galactic genetic encoding? What would you feel in your body? What would happen to your mind, to your brain's patternings? What would happen to your reality if you did that as if you were taking a pill? One of the problems with the more subtle and powerful energies that are around us and within us is that we're so fixated on, okay, you take the pill 4 times a day. That we can do. But when it comes to remember to work on your endocrines, or remember to focus on your galactic DNA, we forget. And so we need to find the way to be able to focus so that, as my great-grandfather said to me, we can anchor the sky. We can pull it into us and therefore become that, because that's why we've come. We have certainly not come not to get out of our bodies, which is what most spiritual teachings have been saying for eons of time, to get into our bodies in such a way that we access the light body, so that all of those faster frequencies can begin to work inside us, so that we can go beyond the miracles that other templates have given us, even beyond those, you know, and we are ready. We are ready. So it's great that you've been feeling that and you've been shown that. And now all you have to do is to give yourself the space to use it, use it, use it. So I will be calling upon you guys at some point to play with me and give me the info that we are all looking for. You know, in the past, we've always projected it out. We've always said the Buddhas, the Christ, the others could do it, but not me. And now is the time to be able to say, and I can. Whether that's something as simple as bilocating, you know, but to do those things with purpose and consciousness. There's so much potential awaiting humans. And just quicken that spiral of evolution. It's all inside us. It's not like we need new strands. It's simply that we have to awaken them. And that's that RNA whispering to the DNA. Wake up, this is what it looks like. Thank you.
Could you talk for a minute about autism and those types of things that are seeming to really just be almost like an epidemic amongst the younger people today?
You know, it's like a few years ago it was all about Alzheimer's, which of course now is multiplied in the hundreds of percents, and now it's happening with autism. So we're having it from the top and the bottom, the beginning and the end, which I think is very, very interesting. We could say with autism that we know some of the biochemistry of the brain. We know that serotonin is increased in autism. And now serotonin is something that stimulates the brain to feel good, but if there's too much of it, there's no metabolism, we get nuts. Well, isn't it interesting that as the earth opens up and spews the Hitlerian energies, the tribe against tribe, all of the hatred and killing and past of our human history, at least in these cycles. There are other cycles, but in these cycles, we are seeing an increase of that kind of fear of others, of separation, of incapacity to communicate, of acting out, of not being aware of the body, of being in tyrannical fits that come from fear. And so what I would say is that yes, we have more of this because we have more toxins in the environment, because there are points of references that may be involved in vaccinations, that may be involved in heavy metals, that may be involved in some of these other things. But if we wanted to look at it from a spiritual perspective, what is a parent? I was just working with someone the other day who had a pair of twins, both of whom have autism. This is a couple who never fed their children anything that wasn't pure, and yet their children have it. Their two twin children have it. So then we want to look at, again, what could be the purpose? What would be the purpose for these parents? How terrible it is for them, because it's not like you can just kind of give them back someplace, you know. And typically it takes a lot to be able to even put them in an institution. You know, there they are. They will define your reality, your waking moments, your sleeping, dreaming moments, and they will mirror for you the anger, the fear, the separation, the disconnect. And so I would say that on a spiritual level, we're looking at that kind of mirroring. And we will get through it. We will get through it. We are beginning to learn how to work with these children, which we weren't doing in the past, to bring them out of that. We are learning so much about the brain today. The problem is that we still have this concept of, oh, too much of this, let's make less of that. You know, we still can't see the hologram. And we won't see that hologram until we include the spiritual DNA in that hologram. It's certainly never to punish parents. It's never to punish the being who is suffering the autism themselves. They can get better, they will get better, we will get through this, but only if we have a big explosion as to what is true and what is real and what is possible. And so in the interim, it's very, very painful to everyone to see people that reflect that. Again, my higher self has always said, if you see it outside, if you have it in your family, and what was the percentage I heard the other day? It was something like 1 in 7 has that potential of autism today. Now that is no good. That is no good. So if that is becoming the story and we're seeing it outside, then we want to look at it inside. It's one of the things that's inspiring me to begin this groundwork on the potential brain. You know, what is a way through this? It's not just biochemical. It's not just electromagnetic. But it's something. It's something bigger than all of it. And I feel that we will come to a point where we can, and it may come from species or beings of more enlightened octaves. You know, what I know for sure is, in the past we were saying, oh, I can't stand this place, I'll be a galactic. Let the galactics come and take me off in a spaceship. No, it's not going to happen that way. Not going to happen that way. We are the galactics. So we have to, again, anchor the sky. We have to realize that there could be a profound purpose in experiencing mindsets and evolutionary concepts or patternings of thought or realities that are beyond what we have experienced so far in a collective way, that might bring to us the potential. I think that, for example, all the stuff that we're doing, all the wars that we're having over energy right now could be resolved like that. Will it come because some galactic group will come down and say, oh, you silly little ants, this is the way you do that? Or will it come because we go, aha, it's inside me, and we will construct it? Both ways are possible. But we are on one of those kinds of precipices that are pushing us, pulling us to make those kind of leaps that will allow us to look back and say, oh, this was really simple. You know? And again, I think one of the things that comforted me in the face of so much death that I've experienced is not the intellectual concept that we live many times, but the experiential awareness that we live many times, and that consciousness never dies. It's not, it may flow in and around a brain or the mind of a cell, but it's not attached there. It doesn't live or die with that vehicle. And so I think that we want to look at where's the separation inside ourselves. You know, and where is the profound fear of not trusting anyone else, of not being able to tell what is real and what is potential. You know, again, many of the great minds and the great psychic or even enlightened beings have been called crazy because they couldn't separate out the smallness of the third dimensional world from the vastness of other dimensions. And I think now it's very important for us to be able to locate ourselves. You might be having a multidimensional experience, but you always must be able to locate yourself in there. Otherwise there'd be no purpose in being a body, because all of your experiences play back to the unmanifest of the evolution of source, of divine source, of God, if you will continue eternally. So I feel that we'll get through this, we'll find the answers to this, and it necessitates our contribution. So we could do a little short exercise right now, again, just of sending light. We can never know how a frequency of light might allow the scientist or the parent or the child to suddenly leap from some space of reality to something that frees us. And so all that matters is, as my higher self would say, the grace with which we live our lives, which means all that matters is where you put your attention. So autism is a tragic and difficult mirroring. So let us participate in shifting it. So close your eyes, take a deep breath into your body, and just allow your consciousness to perceive the millions of beings who are involved in autism, from researchers to children to parents to families across the planet. And just see, you might be more focused on parents, or you might be focused on the children or the researchers. Whatever comes into your consciousness and stays there, crystallizes there for the moment. That's the point of entry for you at this moment. Might be different later. Now ask that point of entry, the child, the parent, the researcher, the family, what frequency of light they need to be supported in making a change and evolving past the purpose of this experience. Just take the first color that comes into your consciousness and draw that color from the cosmos so that you're pulling it in from the infinite wisdom of cosmos, down through the top of your head, into your stomach, into your solar plexus, and laser that frequency of light out to whomever it was that came into your awareness. Breathe in, draw down, continue to effortlessly send that color. And then just let go and open your eyes. There is nothing that happens on this planet that isn't a part of us. Nothing. So it is very powerful for us to be able to do that.
So another thing that's happening with more regularity are these shootings, these violent shootings. And I know somebody probably asked you about the Tucson shooting. I haven't
About
been here. About the Tucson shooting, but I haven't been here since then. And I'm not so interested in that particular one, but as you were talking to Anne about the autism, all these things you talked about, the separation, the sense of separation, the mirroring, and I'm just wondering what, are there really soul agreements with those souls to participate in those events?
I know, it's so hard to stomach. That is so hard to stomach. And I've been around, because I worked with killers, so I've been around a lot of that. People that have no sense of shame for slaughtering somebody else, for whatever reason or non-reason that they had. Now what I would say in the States is that there's so much fiddling around with our emotions through chemistry that we can hardly tell who we are. And as the more people who take antidepressants, the more people that fiddle with their brains, the more of this we will see. And there's a lot of, there are many, many studies proving this, case by case by case. This one who did this terrible thing, that one that did that terrible thing. Were they on antidepressants? Yes, they were. And so that's a part of that, for sure. We have to find a way to connect the head to the body, and the head and the body to the emotional centers, so that we can live in this world. Again, it's kind of the same answer. If somebody out there is shooting or killing someone, how is that not connected to us? We are seeing it, we are hearing about it, therefore we are a part of that. I was working on a pubescent person recently, and the flags were there. So on one level you could say, well, you know, we go into puberty and we get all whacked out, and yet those flags were there, of someone who would be capable of. So we need to take a moment. This is why meditation is so important. My higher self was correcting me. I was so wrong, excuse me. It was not 1 in 7 of autism, it's 1 in 7 in antidepressants. Sorry about that. 1 in 7 in antidepressants or anti-anxieties that create these kinds, that have that, create that potential to activate your worst nightmare. And what's happened in the studies when people have, researchers have worked with these people that have performed these terrible acts, is that often they don't remember that they did it. And this is why. So again, it's really, I guess it's really time for us to begin to look at our brain. What would a blissful brain look like? You know, what would a brain that is at peace with the self and the world be doing? Where is its attention? What's firing in all those different parts of the brain? We need to emulate that. That's one of the reasons when I do this book, it's not going to be so much yak. It's going to be, this is very simple. Take a look at this. What does your brain look like right now? You want this. You want an energetic that reminds you that it's a template for what is it to be peaceful, to be unafraid, to not be hateful, to not be in disgust. And so what I would say is, it's important for all of us to extend our consciousness so that people who have that vibration in them can shift. And they can shift because you're sending them energies. So that someone who's on the verge of killing themselves or someone else could suddenly feel an energy that distracts them. And they lose that irritation that they can't stop, that addictive energy that overcomes them, that possessive energy that overcomes them. And so we have to come to that. And where I'm caught and growing with this book that I want to do is that anything that's outside you has its own repertoire. So how can we look, and on one level I want to show you, but on the other level I want to say, you can only find it in yourself. So I'm caught in my own catch-22 there. In other words, come to a place of joy and then look at your brain. And then if we could take that picture, you could take a picture of your brain at that moment. You could repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And that's what would be the gift to you and the world around you. And that's what we need to do now. So it's on the one hand, we're going through this funnel of initiation. It's getting more narrow for us. In that we can't get the help over here or the help over there. It's got to come from inside. And as it comes from inside, we'll see how connected we all are. That actually, from inside, we can help each other. And not as much from the outside that we would wish. How can you stop someone? How can you comfort them? How can you heal them? You have to heal the essence of humanity in you in order to change this world. And we can do it. It is happening now. Listen to the questions we've had. Listen to the conversations we've had. That's because we are ready. And we know these things. You all know this. And now we just have to have a little giggle and a little willingness to allow yourself bliss, ecstasy, rapture. It's there.